Hey, wonderful viewers, welcome back to Botcast powered by SmartBots. Mansa, your host, and our guest today is Albert Loyola, and he's here to discuss the rapid evolution of AI. Albert, thrilled to have you here.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, Albert, before we get into the nitty gritty of AI and generative AI, let's give our audience a sneak peek into your journey. I know that with your wealth of experience in human capital, tech, AI research, and ecosystem alliances, what drove your passion to this space?
I've been in management consulting for the last 12 years. My area of expertise is human capital in the context of AI and intelligent automation. So always being involved around technology. Started my career in oil and gas, where I work closely with data scientists. So that's how it allowed me to understand how can you bring the power of technology and data to enable employee experience and HR processes. So that's why I got connected between the best of the two worlds.
Inspiring story. So, Albert, let's start our conversation on what key innovations have shaped the evolution of AI and HR technology.
When we think about HR innovation, we need to start thinking about a couple of things. Number one is innovation has been a capability that has been changing the entire HR technology ecosystem for the last 10 years. And every, I would say, 3 years is when we see a new disruption that inform the way how you can, as a technology provider, can design new products and services, and for companies to start thinking about the impact of talent, culture, and leadership. So 10 years back, for example, we saw a full-blown revolution of chatbots. Chatbots come into recruiting to help recruiters to hire faster, be able to answer frequently asked questions, and also help recruiters to do candidate screening and create a experience in terms of going through the hiring process. That capability created an opportunity, and the whole market started shifting, and many technology vendors and the VCs saw the opportunity and started investing in HR. As a result of that, then we saw multiple solutions coming to HR and human capital: programmatic advertising, candidate screening, the initial view of AI, talent matching, and so on. That created a huge opportunity, and many companies realized, hey, this is something that I can use to accelerate my HR processes, create better human capital and employee experiences, and so on. Then all of a sudden, we are right to 2018, where we saw the explosion of these new technologies. So if you probably remember, we saw new ways to engage employees in terms of, hey, I have an HCM system, but an HCM system is a system of record. It's not a system of engagement. So that's when we saw the LXP, Learning Experience Management Platforms, by the full-blown view around employee experience powered by AI. Then all of a sudden, we hit the pandemic hit the market, and that created a new way of technology. For example, companies, CEOs, CHROs were curious about how my employees are working remotely. How do they feel? Then employee sentiment came to play, right? Try to understand how employees feel about the whole remote work. Do they need any support? And so on. Then all of a sudden, also companies were trying to figure out how can we make remote work efficient and collaborative. So then these collaboration tools also came to play, Microsoft and all those tools, right, that help to facilitate the collaboration and productivity. Fast forward, we came here to 2023, 2024, at the whole full-blown revolution of Gen AI, right? And I think we are just scratching the surface, focusing on productivity, and start thinking about what are the specific use cases where Gen AI or the next generation of Gen AI will help to enable experience.
No doubt it's exciting time. And as you said, generative AI promises to truly transform HR technology. And moving into the present, Albert, how do you perceive the current state of Gen AI co-pilots and their impact on the workplace?
When we think about the copilots, let me start off with this. So Gen AI and the copilots are on the rise, and everything started, just to refresh our memories, last year when OpenAI launched ChatGPT. That created a huge impact in two main sectors. the providers, and also companies. So everybody was thinking, how can I use this new technology, for example, to enable my product and services and redefine new offerings? Companies on the other side were thinking, how can I use this new technology to create productivity, improve operational excellence, and serve my customer better? With that in mind, the whole ecosystem reacted to it. And then we saw Microsoft launching the 360 Copilot, Google Duet coming to Google Workplace, and then professional service firms creating new solutions for their own consultants to manage all the knowledge and all the service delivery that they've been putting together to serve their clients, the strategy decks and so on. And then the technology ecosystem as well. They were thinking, how can I use these foundational models to create better experiences, be able to match talent opportunities, help to define a new way of learning experience and match people to learning pathways and so on. However, this is just the beginning. GenAI is helping the copilots are coming to the HR and human capital to enable multiple use cases across HR. And companies right now are working in three main areas. Number one is try to figure out what's the end-to-end impact of this new technology using the copilot. What's the best way to enable the organization to adopt? And number three, how do we make people safe with this new technology?
Couldn't agree more, Albert. And enterprises are actively experimenting with co-pilots across functions, like you said. And adoption is still early but accelerating. But anyway, diving into the specific applications, could you highlight the top use cases for Gen AI co-pilots within human capital?
So this 2024, companies are doing a couple of things to expand on the previous question. So last year, everybody talked about Gen AI, and then some vendors, as discussed, were launching these new solutions. However, it doesn't mean that whatever they were bringing to market was meeting market standards or compliant standards. So companies are starting to testing and experiencing in terms of, is this something that is gonna really gonna give me the value? And then number two is start thinking about what are the specific use cases that I wanna prioritize that I link to value creation. And that's the key. It's not about just to say, hey, there are a bunch of use cases. I'll follow what the market is telling you. It's to start thinking about what's the impact around my customers, what's the impact around talent, productivity, and so on. So with that in mind, I would say there are three tangible use cases that I've seen working with multiple clients. Number one is productivity. And let me give you an example. So this week I've been working with a client and they've been adopting Microsoft Copilot. And it was fascinating the fact that the solution, and I've seen it, is helping you to summarize meetings, helping you to, start drafting PowerPoints, start interacting with this technology and give you quick answers. It's honestly fascinating because it's saving you so much time. So even I use it before this interview and I interact with the technology and say, hey, tell me about, some components around Gen AI in terms of um, fairness and biases. And the system was able to give me that information that I needed. So productivity and time management is one of the use cases that is growing and it's going to keep growing this year, right? That's one of the use cases that has been proven is providing value. The other one is when you think about workforce insights and skills. And that's one of the use cases that it's fascinating me right now. So I spoke with this vendor last year and he showed me that they are using Gen AI to be able to create talent insights around skills, be able to tell what's going on in terms of retention or employee burnout. And the system is able to give you a very easy like information and connect different data sets around performance, learning, and analytics. The last but not least is recruiting. And recruiting, I've seen more transactional use cases in terms of helping the recruiter to draft job descriptions, helping also to the recruiter to interact with the candidates, create these customized emails, do some initial analysis in terms of job, market, and skills. So those are the three use cases that I've seen. There are more. However, I think those are the three that it has been proven is bringing value very quickly.
So much potential, and the applications are vast and expanding quickly. And of course, any new technology brings challenges too, right? So, what implementation hurdles are companies facing when integrating AI co pilots into their operations?
So I'm going to bring a perspective as a consultant working closely with clients. So there are four steps or four components to consider as you are moving from a POV to production when it comes to the copilots. Number one is to start thinking about the alignment. It's, do you have a shared vision around AI? Have you defined what are the capabilities that the copilots and AI will enable and how the roadmap might look like in terms of resources, talent, and technology? With that in mind, start thinking about also alignment and adoption. And start thinking about, do I have the right tools and technology to be able to create something that will bring value to my clients, be able to help our employees to be more productive? What's going to be the journey around the adoption? Do they feel comfortable with the new technology? If there's something that we need to communicate so that they can be clear on what's the information being consumed, how are we using that information, and what's going to be the outcome. And before that step, and I think I missed that one, is related to align with the organization around which are the specific use cases that we want to prioritize and fund, right? Because right now, compilers can be used in multiple use cases as we discussed. So what's going to be the process of making that decision around, this is the top use case that we want to enable, these are the resources, this is the implementation, and so on. Another component to consider is culture. And many people think, hey, this is just bringing the technology, plug and play, we have a copilot. Well, the challenge is broader than that. And the thing is that because you're working with people need to feel safe about this new technology. So, for example, I've been in situations where clients were telling me that people thought that they've been monitored as a result of this new technology, or their responses or questions were being monitored, and so on. So, you need to create an environment. You need to have a culture that enable and make people comfortable around this new technology, right? And it comes from leadership. There needs to be a clear alignment in terms of what are those use cases, what's my vision, how do I make people safe, and how my new ways of working are going to be, promoted across the entire organization. Lastly, but not least is technology, right? So Gen AI and Copilot by itself doesn't work like by itself. It needs to be connected to data models, right? So you need to have a data strategy. You have a clear end-to-end enterprise view around technology stack. So that's also a huge component to consider as you bring up Gen AI and the copilots to the workplace.
Absolutely, Albert. And striking the right balance is key, and responsible governance remains quite critical still. What about managing risk inherited with AI systems? Any guardrails you would suggest?
Yes, definitely. Let me start off with this. So in the last year, we've seen a lot of efforts, either coming from governments or leading organizations to put together a framework to balance the use of Gen AI, but also keep personal information protected, right? Reduce bias and be compliant. So with that in mind, I've seen three actions led by Fortune 500 companies. Number one is transparency. So you need to be transparent in terms of what kind of data you're using. What are those models, how data is consumed, analyzed, and ready for prime time. Need to organize all your models based on the regulations in your country or your industry vertical so that you can be ready for any audit. Number two is more around the governance. Is to start thinking about that this new technology will define new ways of working, multiple cross collaboration, right? So start thinking about what are the roles and responsibility, what's the authority, but also at the same time create a model that is flexible for new changes around technology, culture, and new innovation across human capital and the enterprise. The other component, which is my favorite, is data. And data is the foundational component of AI. So you need to have a clear structure around your data. This is related to the previous one, to transparency, right? And start thinking about whatever the data you have, you need to have a data pipeline that has been is monitored, is organized. You have the right talent and the right processes and policies to be able to assess that data, collect that data, manage that data, and create analytics. So all that information, all that process flow needs to be very structured under the governance, as well as defining those specific policies that regulates data consumption and so on. And lastly but not least is the foundational models, right? So you need to make sure that you create an inventory of this and define clearly and communicate this to the employees. This is how you're using that data, which are the specific use cases. How are we keeping the organization compliant and reducing any biases in any models that I'm creating and launching to market?
Absolutely crucial, Albert. And now looking ahead to 2024, what innovations can we expect in HR technology? Any exciting developments on the horizon?
I would say we're going to see more innovation around Gen AI. As I was mentioning at the beginning of this interview, we are just scratching the surface. So most likely when it comes to human capital and HR, you're going to see a lot of innovation in talent intelligence skills specifically, which is something that it has a lot of room for improvement because it includes multiple data sources, skill taxonomies, different level of proficiencies and so on. Every industry is different and skills are constantly evolving. So I think GenAI can make the case there and help to develop new solutions and offerings as well. The other one is related to creating new experiences around learning, connecting learning with performance, with career mobility. I think there are a lot of progress when it comes to internal mobility, multiple credentials there, but I think this technology can help to integrate the end-to-end view. And so then I'm talking about talent intelligence, connecting the data that comes from recruiting, then see how the employee is performing, and then define what are the learning pathways or how they can improve or bridge, fill those gaps, but also start thinking about where do I take that employee in terms of careers and growth. So I think that's where this technology can help to accelerate and make it even more efficient and more productive.
Absolutely, Albert. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts or insights you would like to share?
I think these are exciting times for any folks that is driving or participating in efforts around HR technology. So definitely be open to upskill yourselves around AI and Gen AI. Definitely, this is something that's going to impact your job. So you need to be flexible and need to be open to new assignments, new experiences, because that's going to keep you, available in the market and new opportunities, new experiences.
Thank you so much, Albert, for joining us on Botcast today and sharing your insights and expertise. It's been truly a learning experience for all of us. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in to the enlightening episode of Podcast Powered by Smartboards. If you enjoyed our talk, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more engaging discussions. Until next time, this is Mansa Kauri signing off. Stay curious and stay tuned.